my channel. This is Heaven with Heaven's Audventure, so welcome back. If you're new here, I am a state auditor with the state of Tennessee. I've been here for over 3 years and I've worked here since I graduated college, but I did have 2 accounting internships in college. One was at a public accounting firm working in tax for tax season. That does not give me credibility to talk about tax work and everything. I just kind of dabbled in it. But I also had a 2-year-long internship working for industry internally at my university. So that was kind of industry work. So I've kind of seen the different routes of accounting, but obviously as an auditor, I can specialize and talk with confidence about auditing. So I wanted to do a specific video talking about the characteristics that make a good auditor. Also, for my subscribers that are waiting for me to do another work vlog, I apologize. The past 2 weeks I've been really crazy at work. You guys know I took 2 weeks off for Christmas and the holidays, and then coming back I had 2 weeks before our audit deadline on Friday for our agreed upon procedures report. But because I took leave and because we had a new audit software that we went through training with, it was just a very intense, very work heavy 2 weeks. So I earned some more comp time. I worked overtime every day those 2 weeks. So I am super excited to get into my next spring audit starting next week and getting to actually work the 37.5 hours that I love so much at my workplace, and possibly getting Fridays off again if I can stack up my hours early in the week. But anyways, before I get into this video, I want to be very cautious on not intimidating anybody. Don't listen to these characteristics and think, oh my gosh, I don't have that, or I'm not really good at that, so there's no way I'll be a good auditor. And it's so easy to put yourself in a box, or going with the stereotype that if you're an outgoing extrovert, then you need to be an auditor, but if you're more introverted and quiet, then you need to go into tax. Throw that out the window, you guys. I mean, typically the personalities you may see favor one or the other, but don't put yourself in a box. Do what you are passionate about. I limited these characteristics down to only 10, but that does not mean that only 10 characteristics make a good auditor. Also, don't think that I'm super well at all these 10 characteristics. Like, no, I've just, through the audit profession and through my experience of working, I've nailed down 10 core characteristics that I think make a really good auditor. So I just want to put that out there. I was kind of hesitant on making this video. It has been highly requested, and anytime I do like a Q&A, someone's always asking like what makes a good auditor. So that's the preface of this video, so let's go ahead and get started. I do have some notes in my fake composition book / iPad to keep me on track so I don't go rambling on, but you guys know I like to talk a lot, so I apologize in advance. Also, these are in no particular order. They were just in a list and I'm gonna go with it. So one characteristic that makes a really good auditor is just being skeptical by nature. It's kind of the nature of the job to be skeptical, to want to back up everything by evidence, by proof, not believing everything that somebody says. And that's just like literally the nature of being an auditor. You are coming to audit financial statements. You're coming to make sure everything is accurate. You're trying to find any inconsistencies, money going in the wrong accounts, errors that have been made. Just by the nature of the job, you need to be skeptical of everything you hear. And the AICPA's auditing standards require that any spoken word, oral evidence is backed up by written evidence or evidence that you have physically seen. So just by nature, if you are a gullible person, that may just be an extra challenge as an auditor, but that doesn't mean that you can't be an auditor. And that's gonna go with any of these characteristics. You can always work on things. The next characteristic is being assertive. If you're more of an assertive person, I think that will help you as an auditor because you will be initiating meetings. You're gonna be performing control walkthroughs where you're gonna have to ask the staff to walk you through an entire process. Like any cash that your client receives, you need to walk through the entire process from when they receive the cash to when they deposit it to the bank. And you're gonna be asking a lot of difficult questions at times. You'll also be performing lots of fraud questionnaires. Most of the meetings are not gonna be challenging. They're gonna be very routine. Take any of your questionnaires as a template and not to ask the exact question that you're asking them, but to kind of adapt the meeting and change it as you go. If they say something, make them elaborate on that. Maybe ask more follow-up questions to what they just said to really get a good idea of what they're saying. I'll get to this later, but reading between the lines is key as an auditor. Again, cutting through the BS that they're going to give you and really figure out what's actually going on. But that takes being assertive, and that again is something you'll get as you become an auditor. It'll become easier and you're going to figure out what you need. Through your experience, you're going to learn what worked and what didn't work, and that all comes with the job, so do not worry. But typically being assertive is a good characteristic of an auditor. Another good characteristic is just being easily adaptable, meaning that you can go with the flow. You're gonna be in some audit rooms that are not great. I've been in audit rooms where I'm touching arm to arm with my coworkers. We all had to stand up to let someone out to go to the bathroom because the room was so tiny. I've been in rooms where there's no air conditioning. I've been in rooms with no heat when you freeze to death. And also having meetings change last minute. They change location or the people in the meeting. I've gone to meetings before where I thought it was just gonna be me and this one person, and then the CFO decides to want to listen in on the meeting, or the president of the client wants to come and listen. And that's intimidating because I'm like, oh, I'm a one-year auditor, I don't know what I'm saying. But that's where you have to kind of fake it till you make it on confidence and really knowing what you're talking about and just being able to adapt really quick, on your toes, think quick on what you're trying to get, what the purpose of that meeting is. An auditor typically travels quite a bit, and during COVID, that's a whole other thing. But before COVID, when we actually did travel and go in hotel rooms, and you'll be flying to your clients on, if you work for a firm that's kind of big and have clients all over the place. So your flights may change last minute. Your hotel room may change last minute. You may have problems with your rental car or Uber. There's all kinds of travel things that happen. So with a job that travels quite a bit, you'll be better fitted if you're a go with the flow kind of person. I am very much that way. I hate routine personally. So I like not knowing what my next day is going to be. Lately during COVID, working from home, everything's been very routine, and I'm struggling with that because I like the surprise. I like the adventure, the spontaneity. So when I have meetings last minute or when I have to kind of adapt things as I go, I get kind of a high from that. It's like an adrenaline rush of just going with the flow, and I absolutely love it. So that's one of my favorite characteristics of an auditor, but that is something that will help you in the field. Another characteristic of a good auditor is having good time management skills. You're going to be given your audit sections that you need to complete for the audit, and there's going to be a time budget that goes with it, or billable hours if you work in public accounting. That means that let's say you have cash and there's 50 billable hours to get cash done. So you have your whole audit program and you need to get all the steps done effectively and efficiently within the 50-hour time budget. Now, if issues arise, if problems pop up, if you have difficulty, if there's things that happen, management understands that, so don't stress too hard, and definitely do not cut corners to get the things done in the 50 hours. So you need to have good time management skills to make sure you're prioritizing what takes the most amount of time and starting it early. Some things you'll learn, you just have to request documentation, you get it, you sign off, and you're done. So probably do those last. And also, if there were issues in the past over certain processes or certain sections, do those first, because you're going to need to make sure that the issues are resolved and that they've made changes. So good time management skills are key as an auditor, but that is something you can work on. I think everybody can work on time management, myself included. That will be a skill that will definitely come handy. And as you become more experienced, you may have multiple engagements that you're working on at the same time. I was just working on 3 engagements at the same time right before Christmas, and that was just a lot going on. That's where time management comes into play. This kind of goes off of time management, but another skill is being self-motivated. I didn't know how big of a deal this was until I started realizing that other jobs, even other fields like not accounting related, bosses may tell you exactly what you need to get done, or they may request it, or they may ask, where are you at in this? For my organization specifically, in my workplace, you know the audit sessions you have to get done, and you're just like, okay, go do it. And no one's following up with you, making sure that you're getting things done or that you've done things in a certain order. That is up to you to figure out what's most important, what takes the longest, and really making sure that you're staying on task. It can get very easy to get lazy, and every workplace is going to be different. Every firm is going to be different. I work for the government, and so that may be different, but for us, we are given our audit sections at the beginning of an audit, and our audits last several months. So we could be on an audit anywhere from like 3 months to 6 months to 8 months. That will not be typical in public accounting. You test a lot less in public accounting, and you only do material accounts. In government, we are very thorough with everything we test, so we do a lot of test work. One of my sections on this last audit, I had over 250 work papers in just one audit section, and there's like 20 audit sections in an audit. If you have public clients that are publicly traded on the stock market, you're gonna have a lot more deadlines, like little deadlines, little reports that they have to turn in. We don't have that in government, so literally like we'll have 4 months to get an audit done. You get all your audit stuff in January, and I don't know, it's not due until May. So you can get real lazy up here when no one's following up with you, and it's very important that you're staying on task, that you're getting things done, and you're able to get everything done by May, or whatever the time budget may be. And this includes a lot of the not fun work. You're not gonna love everything about auditing. There are several parts of an audit that I absolutely hate and I dread, and I want to put those off last because I want to just not have to do them and keep putting them off. But it's very important that you get that stuff done first, just so you don't dread it. You make sure it gets done. And also with my job, even though I've worked here 3 years, just this past week I got assigned a federal report that I'm having to do. It's not done every year, so I'm having to look at past audits. I'm having to figure out for myself who to ask, like who can help me with this, where do I go next, what what do I do? And you can't just sit there and be like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start, and it's just gonna pop in your head. Like, you have to be diligent on figuring out what you're doing, when you're doing it, how to do it, and ask questions. There's no harm in asking questions. Even me working here several years, I have to ask a lot of questions to figure out what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how's the best way to have it done efficiently. Being self-motivated, not having someone to have to keep telling you everything you need to get done will help a lot. Another good characteristic is being organized, and that would go with really any professional role ever. As an auditor, you will be working at the client's site quite a bit, meaning you have a portable office that you're bringing and you're literally working at your client's place of business. And it just looks tacky if you've got things all over the place. I had a coworker that would leave food all over the desk like overnight. To me, that is just so unprofessional and just unorganized and kind of gross. To each his own. There's really no said rule about that, but make sure things look organized, but also on your computer, being digitally organized. If you have multiple audits going on, you're gonna have so many work papers. You're gonna have lots of images, Excel workbooks, everything going on with each client, that you need to be very organized in your folders on your actual computer, and also be able to recall certain information quickly. If someone's like, hey, can you send me this real quick? It will help a lot if you're very organized, and that's something you'll learn with the job of a good way to organize things. Every person has their own system, and even on my Outlook email that we use, I have a different folder for each audit. Also, as an auditor, you're going to be trusted with a lot of really highly confidential information that is your responsibility to make sure it does not get leaked out, it doesn't end up in the wrong hands, that you actually shred it and you don't just give it to somebody to shred. But yeah, just being organized will help you a ton as an auditor, but also in any accountant role. A very obvious characteristic I probably could have mentioned at the beginning is being very detail oriented. As an auditor, your job is to look for inconsistencies. You're looking for errors. You're making sure things are classified right. Account numbers, small differences here and there, making sure that totals match, and making sure that dates are consistent, that bank statements are reconciled within the 30-day period or whatever the policy is. It's just helpful if you're good and detail oriented. I also typically help with our audit reports when we're done with an audit, because I'm like a Microsoft Word Nazi. Well, I can notice when one letter in a word is a different font than the rest. So my manager loves having me help with the audit reports. I'm very detail oriented, and so I think that helps. But also, if you're not super detail oriented, that's totally fine. You'll learn and what you need to be looking for. So this next one is kind of basic as well, but just being professional. You are the auditor, so the client is going to sort of criticize you. They're going to judge you a little bit just by nature of your role. You're coming to audit their stuff. Being dressed professionally is important because it demands respect. Also, the way you speak, not using profanity, not cussing or cursing on the job site, keeping things very professional in emails, being very polite. Any job you're going to be professional, but you're going to be held at a higher standard as the auditor. And I had an issue on my very first audit that the auditee, my client, did not respect me because of my age. I was only 22. It was clear that I didn't know what I was doing, that I was learning, and she had a big problem with that. And she called me child and kid frequently, and it was very demeaning. It was very offensive and just rude. It's gonna happen, you guys. You're gonna come in as the auditor, and it's like, here I am auditing people who have been accountants for 30 or 40 years, and I'm brand new. So obviously there's gonna be some respect issues there. I will add, getting my CPA has helped a lot. I mean, obviously having your CPA in your signature line of your email, when you're emailing back and forth before you even meet the client, they see that you're a CPA. That alone demands so much more respect than I even expected when I got my CPA. Another good characteristic of an auditor is being intuitive. This helps a lot of just having a good judge of character, trusting your gut, being able to read between the lines and cutting through the BS that the client's gonna give you. But it helps a lot if you're just naturally intuitive, if you know kind of what's going on and the vibe that's taking place. You can definitely see nonverbal language going on, if they're nervous, if they're sweating, if they're completely honest and they're not worried at all. Now, as an auditor, there could be nothing going on at all and the client is still going to be nervous talking to you. That's just obviously the auditors here, and you'll learn the difference for sure. Like, I can tell when somebody's lying to my face. I can tell when they're just nervous that I'm there. Going off of that, my very last and 10th characteristic that I think makes a good auditor is being a good people person. But being a good people person will help you in general with any job in the world. But as an auditor, when you have these uncomfortable meetings and these kind of awkward questions you have to ask, or when you have to go over fraud and get really deep on having, maybe there is an issue and you think, oh my gosh, this could be fraudulent, and you're having to talk to the client about it. Being very careful in how you word that stuff and not saying, hi, I'm accusing you of fraud, explain why this is not fraud, is not the way to go. Just naturally, if you can strike up some some conversation. If you can just make the client feel more comfortable when you walk into the room.
It just got really bright, so I apologize if the light is going all over the place. There it goes, it's getting darker.
When I walk into a client's office, if they have photos of their kids or grandkids or spouse, I'll comment on it. Like here in Knoxville, a lot of people go to UT games, so if I see photos of UT games, I'll say something about it, just like an icebreaker to get something talking before you get into the weeds of the really awkward meeting that you're about to have. But also there is a very fine line about being professional and friendly and to being personal and being too close to the client. Obviously, as an auditor, it is very important that you remain independent, that you don't cross that line. So that's very important as an auditor. Obviously, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble, and your license, if you're a CPA or any other certification, can be at risk if you're not independent or if you do ignore things that are there. Right, you guys, those are the 10 main characteristics that I feel like make a really great auditor through the experience that I've experienced working. That is, again, not everything, and there are a lot of other characteristics that would make a good auditor. And there's things that I need to work on all the time. None of us are perfect. And you can still be a successful auditor not having all those things. I'm just giving you guys an idea of just the nature of the job and what would be complimented, like what would stand out in a good way. Like, for example, I'll be very transparent with you guys. I'm a very nice person. I think if you've watched my channel for a long time, you know that. My whole first year of working as an auditor, it was very hard for me to be demanding or being, hey, I need this by Friday. Like, hey, our deadline is this day. I need this ASAP. I was very understanding. Whenever you can get it to us is fine. I'll be here whenever you're ready. I think I've gotten a lot better with that, especially this past year, this past busy season that was on. I had a lot of very stern conversations with the client that I was just very, not the heaven that you guys know, but heaven as an auditor, and being very matter of fact. And that just comes with the job. And as you become more confident, you know what's going on, you'll be able to do that better. But thank you guys so much for watching. I do not want to drag this video on any longer. So thanks again. I will see you guys next time. Bye.